How we doing, guys? Welcome to DT's Daily. Now on today's show we're going to be talking about Paul Merson as he's given his thoughts and opinion on the current Premier League and what will happen if Liverpool are handed the title. Crystal Palace are the latest club to shut down their training ground, and UEFA are coming up with contingency plans to try and complete the Europa League and Champions League.
I represent my fucking self.
How we doing, guys? Welcome to DT's Daily. That's right.
So the first story we are going to talk about today is Paul Merson. Now he's been speaking on Sky about the current situation in the Premier League and what will happen if Liverpool are handed the title. And he does not agree that Liverpool should be handed the title. He says the early Liverpool title award would feel wrong. Now he also feels for the lower league clubs, and he says that Premier League should have made up the games in hand. Now, I'm going to get into his statement in a moment. But of course, the big issue that everybody's talking about is the games in hand. There's 4 sides in the Premier League that have not played the same amount of games as everyone else. Sheffield United, Aston Villa, Arsenal and Manchester City. Now, the implications of that are massive, especially Sheffield United and Aston Villa. You cannot just end the league right now. You cannot do it because Aston Villa have a game in hand. They win that game, they're out of the relegation zone. Sheffield United, they win that game in hand, they go into 5th place. 5th place could potentially be a Champions League spot. So you can see where the problems lie. Now, Paul Merson says awarding Liverpool the title early without winning it mathematically would feel wrong. Merson gives his opinion on football's future after the coronavirus outbreak, how the Premier League could have ensured all teams had played 29 games, why he fears for lower league clubs and also for the mental health of players. It's all well saying Liverpool are 25 points clear, but if I played snooker with my mate tomorrow and I needed 25 snookers to win, and he said, the game is finished, there's no point playing on, for the next week or two I'd be saying, but I could have won that. You really feel for them, waiting 30 years for a title. If it was Manchester City 25 points clear, nobody would care because they've won it already. This team hasn't won it in 30 years. It's like a film. I really feel for them. Even if you gave them the league now, mathematically it's not won. I know they have won it in essence. We all know that, but it's not the same. It's such a shame. And then he goes on to talk about the situation with the games in hand. It would have been a very simple solution if everybody had played the same amount of games. They should have had the brains to ensure those teams who had played a game less make those games up behind closed doors before they shut the league. The problem is the teams at the bottom, and in particular Aston Villa. Their game in hand against Sheffield United should have been played, and if we ensure everyone had played the same amount of games, we wouldn't have a problem. Everyone would be on 29 games. The good teams are at the top and the poor teams are at the bottom, and that's it. How can you call a league now and say Aston Villa are relegated? If they win their game in hand, they are out of the bottom 3. They won't call the league now, but they could have if everyone had played the same amount of games. Now we have the problem. Now we are stuck. On Thursday, when the Premier League talk, they'll be stuck on what to do regarding Aston Villa. Villa are the problem. If Villa win that game in hand against Sheffield United, they stay up. And if Sheffield United won that game, they'd be 5th, which is potentially a Champions League spot if Manchester City were banned. Liverpool had won it, we know that. But it's hard to say to Leeds and West Brom that they are up. Fulham have taken gambles on players. They took these chances to try and get promoted. Brentford next season, if they don't go up, they will lose their front 3. I could run through every club and their problems. Most clubs have taken a gamble and financially this is going to really impact them. But we are mainly talking about Premier League clubs or big championship clubs. You have to remember, whatever happens, these clubs will most likely still be around. When you go a bit lower, some clubs may well be finished. I was manager at Walsall 15 or so years ago. It's a good, well-run club. They look after their finances. They don't spend too much. Even back then, they could not afford 2 home games to be called off. Now we're talking about teams in a much worse financial position than Walsall. The only way the teams can be helped is a bailout from the Premier League. What we could have done is put every club into complete isolation for a few weeks, and in a few weeks' time we'll start again. We test them all after those first few weeks, then we play all the games behind closed doors. All the games would be televised at all different times. But this, of course, is a chaotic situation. I don't think you can have 22 teams, promote West Brom and Leeds, and then relegate 5 next season. And if they declare the season null and void, what are they going to do? Give everyone their season ticket back because the season essentially never happened? There's nothing to say the season has to start in August. That's just how we choose it. The Euros will be next year, so no silly England international friendlies, which buys 6 or 7 weeks. So we could start the season later in September and October. Euro 2020 isn't happening. That's 100% certain for me. I wouldn't even have the meeting on Tuesday. I don't even know why they're having a meeting about it. There's no point. The Champions League and Euros are simple. Cancel them. They don't need to be played. And then lastly, he goes on to speak about players' mental health and could it be an issue. And he says that he wouldn't worry in this day and age about players getting mischievous, going out and drinking. It would have been more of a worry in his day. In terms of their mental health, I'd like to think some of the players are getting together. That could be a problem though, because isolation is the worst thing for mental health. Isolation is the worst thing in the world. You have to talk to people. A lot of young players will be single, away from their families. A lot don't have kids and families. Some may have partners, but that's it. You have to be careful with that. They are isolating indoors, watching TV 24/7, and that's not good. So pretty strong words from Paul Merson, a wide range of issues covered. And I agree with him in terms of the Premier League. What can you do? You cannot just cancel the league now or call the league as it is, because there's 4 sides that have not played the same amount of games. So you can't do that, which means you have to void the league. And if you void the league, then what do? Cancel relegation. If you cancel relegation, you can't hand out a league title to a team that's not mathematically won it. It's as simple as that. Very strange. And of course, he did go on to one of the subjects involving the Europa League and the Champions League. And UEFA, in this emergency meeting, which will be held today, are drawing up a plan to complete the 2-club tournament in a Final Four format, with the semi-finals and finals of each competition being contested in a single city over a 4-day period. Istanbul and Gdansk, which are hosting the Champions League and Europa League finals respectively, would be the cities for the events. UEFA must also decide on how to conclude the round of 16 ties of both competitions and then organise the quarter-finals. See, now, I understand why they've got to put contingency plans in place and why they've got to put a structure there in case things start moving again and we start playing football. But it's not going to happen. We're not going to be playing football for the foreseeable future. You know, scrap the Europa League, scrap the Champions League, take the pressure off everyone else, and we move on. And it's as simple as that. There's not much more you can do about it. But UEFA, being UEFA, I don't think they're going to do that, are they? Last piece of news involves Crystal Palace, and they have shut down their training ground as a precautionary measure. Chairman Steve Parish confirmed the closure of the base at Beckenham, as he also told other non-essential staff to work from home in line with the government's advice. We have closed our training ground as a precautionary measure for 1 week, with players being urged to stay at home and undertake personalised training plans, the statement read. It also confirms that sales of 2021 season tickets have been delayed on the same day Tottenham said they were doing the same. The statement added, clearly our first concern is for all of you, supporters, staff and players, to make sure we do whatever we can to ensure you are safe as possible. I am sure you will have already received information regarding the best steps you can take to protect yourself and others, and I urge everybody to follow these as best they can. It's so important that we all take proactive, preventative measures to mitigate the spread of the virus and the strain on the health service. So Crystal Palace taking precautionary measures, suspending, you know, the season tickets for next season and everything else at the moment. And I believe Spurs have done that as well. And yeah, we're going to have to start raising these questions about the current season soon and whether season tickets will be suspended, payments and refunds and whatnot. There's so many implications because of this, and it's not just on the field, it's off it. So there we go. That is it for today's DT Daily. Quite a wide range of topics we got into, all circulating around the coronavirus, of course. But yeah, that's quite interesting today, some of the stories in there. And as usual, let me know in the comments section whether you agree or disagree. Do you agree with what Paul Merson was saying, or do you disagree? If you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you smash a like on this video, and I will see you lot tomorrow. I'm out of here.